Good afternoon.
Oops.
My name is Tom Tapuzis, and I'm here to introduce to you our moderator, Adriana. Adriana is an extremely international person. She has a major in international business, an MBA and master's in economic development from Setis University. She has 11 years experience working with a number of entrepreneurs. She was the head coordinator for a business incubator in Mexicali, Baja California, worked with the maquiladora industry. And then she also has 7 years of working with Endeavor, which is a business accelerator and incubator project for developing countries. She's really remarkable, as some of you do know her. Some of you who don't should. She's really fantastic. She is also a partner in a consulting firm that her family has. And I'm very proud of the fact that she is the executive director of the Cali Baja Binational Mega Region, a real asset to the organization that includes Imperial County, San Diego County, and northern Baja California. In addition to all that, she hosts a radio program every Saturday, Entrepreneurs in Action, that's broadcasted out of Tijuana, but it's also broadcasted into San Diego County. So with that, let me introduce to you Adriana.
Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. So we're starting with the last panel of the afternoon, and after that we can go to have some dinner. So I'm going to briefly explain just a little bit about this panel, which is going to be working by nationally best practices. And with that, I would like to make an introduction about Cali Baja and what we do and how it relates to what our guests here are going to talk about. This initiative started in 2012, and we primarily do bilateral work between, as Tom said, San Diego, Imperial Valley, and the Baja California Economic Development Councils. And recently we just added the state government of Baja, the Economic Development Councils, or offices of Tijuana and Mexicali, who are playing a great role in trying to put together projects for our region. So we are an organization that encompasses these three members to try to promote the region as a strategic place to come to do business. And this has happened naturally for a lot of years, but there wasn't an organization that was putting together all this formally. So since 2012, we're trying to bring leads, foreign direct investment from different parts of the world, and of course, trying to promote different initiatives in terms of universities, binational collaboration, etc. So with that, I'm going now to present our panel, who are going to speak of a lot of interesting things. And we have three people here with us. Jose Luis Arroyo, who is the Outreach Director of Setis University. I'm going to briefly talk about what he does. He is in charge of the identification and promotion of the collaboration opportunities with business and in the industrial community. He serves as liaison with the academic, professional, and business organizations. He has a bachelor's degree from Tec de Monterrey, and he has a Master's of Science in Computer Systems from Stanford University. So let's give him a round of applause. We have Alex Hinojosa, Deputy Managing Director of North American Development Bank. And with more than 30 years of senior management experience, Alex Hinojosa has extensive professional expertise in investment banking, the utility industry, and municipal project financing. Mr. Hinojosa was appointed as Deputy Managing Director for the North American Development Bank on January 1st, 2011. He oversees all bank operations as it serves the binational border region through its lending and grant programs. From 2004 to 2010, he led the investment banking efforts at Cabrera Capital Markets and Frost Bank. And in 2010, he established the Austin office of J. Stowe & Company, a consulting firm that helps municipal investor-owned utilities with financial planning, industrial strengthening actions, and project managing services. He's one of the founding faculty members of the Utility Management Institute of North American Development Bank. And from 1984 to 2003, he directed the finances for the San Antonio water system of San Antonio, Texas. So let's give him an applause, please. And Dr. Victor Jaime, the superintendent, president of Imperial Valley College. A native of Imperial Valley, Dr. Jaime was born in Brawley, and he attended schools in El Centro, graduating from Central Union High School in 1975. He graduated from Imperial Valley College in 1977 and attended the University of California, Irvine from 1978 to 1980, graduating with a bachelor's degree in social science. He received his master's degree in counseling from San Diego State University in 1985. He has an educational specialist degree from Point Loma Nazarene College in 1990 and a doctorate in education from Northern Arizona University in 1999, where he was awarded the first Ardith Cropper School Practitioners Award for Outstanding Achievement in Educational Leadership. In fall of 1980, Victor Jaime was hired as a counselor for the Talent Search program at Imperial Valley College. He was named Project Director of Talent Search from 1981 to 1985. He served as Dean of Financial Aid and State Programs from 1985 to 1999. In 1999, Dr. Jaime was named Vice President for Student Services, and since July 2011, he has served as Superintendent President for Imperial Valley College. In total, Dr. Jaime has served the students of Imperial Valley College for over 35 years. Victor Jaime has served on various state committees, including Regional Coordinator for the Extended Opportunity Programs and Services, and is a member of numerous state, regional, and national associations in the area for student services. So let's give him also an applause. So first, we are giving them each 30 minutes to make their presentations, and 10 minutes each, 30 minutes. I'm sorry, it's already late in the afternoon. You could also make 30 minutes combined. So 10 minutes each, and we also have a space for questions and answers for 5 minutes for the audience. So we're starting with Jose Luis Arroyo.
Well, 30 minutes, I'm pretty sure I could fill that. Thank you. Let me check. This is the, okay, sure. It works. Excellent. Okay, thank you very much, and thank you to the Imperial Valley Economic Development Corporation for the invitation to participate in this Renewable Energy Summit. When we were asked for this panel subject, best practices. Well, I have to, my disclaimer, I'm an engineer. So when I said best for whom or where? So it's all relative. So I would say what's been working for us and what we're going to share. First, I'm going to go a brief overview of CETIS, the university and where we stand at, and what is working for us in binational collaboration. So in that regard, we are about to be 54 years now. We are supported and overseen by a group of a businessman in Baja California. It was started in Mexicali. Nowadays, we operate campuses in Tijuana and Ensenada also. And the board is in the whole state. The 100 business people are distributed in Mexicali, Tijuana, and Ensenada, not necessarily evenly, but they're there. And they contribute not only with their money, but also their time and their knowledge about where CETIS should be headed and what we'll be doing. We are focused on the individual. It isn't just about developing bright professionals, but people who can contribute to their communities in a very effective manner. And even though the mission itself, the Inc., reads about Northwest Mexico, of course, we have expanded that to the border area, especially with California. President Leon, who apologizes for not being here, he was requested to attend a meeting with the state's governor today at noon in Tijuana. He took office in 2010, and with that, the new strategic planning phase was developed that will take us to the 220. We call it the 2020 vision, and we hope it will precisely be that, perfect vision, as in 2020. Okay, so 4 basic pillars: quality, global sustainability, and learning communities, and especially the issues about global competitiveness is relevant to this scenario, where we want the binational, it isn't just 2 countries, because the world is shrinking, and we are competing with professionals from all over the world. In Mexicali, recently in a meeting with a company, there was an executive who was actually a native of Philippines. There's people from Korea, Germany, and other countries. And those people are actually competing for our workplace and also for the business locally. So we really need to be with a global vision in order to be able to compete. Right now, we're close to 7,000 students with a very strong scholarship program to allow accessibility to talented, deserving, and financially constrained students. I mean, 30,000 alumni, and 31,000 is similar to what the current enrollments are some universities in the States. But we are serving our community, and that's where we are right now. A couple of years ago, it was decided that we needed to strengthen our faculty. So right now, we are at 42% of professors with PhDs, doctorate degrees. We aim to be at 50% by the end of this year, and the goal is to be at 70% by 2020. We've been boasting about being the best in town for a long, long time. But as in the words of one of the trustees, we needed someone else to vote for that. So we underwent accreditation processes, and after 15 years of knocking at the door of WASC and having them deny any possibility of looking at us, eventually they accepted to visit Mexicali and just get a glimpse of what it will take to undergo an accreditation process with us. They accepted, and in 2012, we received the initial accreditation under WASC, which is the Western Association of Schools and Colleges, very same regional organization that accredits the likes of UC Berkeley, UCLA, Stanford, Cal Poly Pomona, and many other universities, IBC, yeah, and many other universities in the States, in Western states of California. Last year, we received accreditation by the Accreditation Council of Business Schools and Programs. So all of business programs are currently accredited in the United States. And last November, we received the initial accreditation for the Industrial Engineering Program under ABET. That was the first step. And once we get the accreditation for industrial engineering, we'll continue with mechanical and other programs so that eventually all academic programs in engineering will be ABET accredited. Right now, every program is accredited on the corresponding bodies within Mexico. Now we are looking for accreditation in the States, and also some actions are being taken to get accreditation in Europe also. In order to increase the quality of education, we have partnered with a number of institutions around the States and get the support of some of their distinguished faculty. Some of these are professors and the institutions you already know. And for example, we trying to be innovative in different ways. Next quarter, Professor Alex Noble and Dan Chang are going to be teaming up in a back-to-back two-quarter course on innovation and entrepreneurship that's going to be offered for people in the master's degree programs for business and engineering. So the idea is get the engineers, get the business people, develop business plan, get some innovation into their ideas, and come out with a funding opportunity for a company, maybe knock in some venture capitals and see what we can do about it. And then we'll be knocking on Endeavor eventually, of course. We are pushing strongly for internationalization. As you can see, well, you can read this faster than I can say it, but the idea is we are moving students all over the country. If we account for national exchange programs, you see it's barely 10% of the population who go to Mexico instead of going overseas. And people go from France, Finland, United States, Canada, and the likes. We are very happy. Next August, we're going to start offering a new program in engineering, renewable energy engineering program. And this is in answer to the needs that are coming up in Mexico. If you took at the national picture, less than 5% of the energy produced or consumed in Mexico comes from renewable sources. And out of that 5%, 75%, roughly around 4% of global consumption comes from hydroelectric operations. So barely 1% of the total production comes from other, and it's mainly wind or geothermal. So there's a lot of work to be done in Mexico in that regard. Baja California specifically, back in 1990, 76% of the energy was geothermal, and 24% was oil burning. 2010, 40% is geothermal. Luckily, oil is down to 6%, but 54% is gas. So we need to do a lot of, there's a lot of work to be done. We need professionals in that regard, and there's opportunities, especially since along with the accreditations I mentioned before, United States residents and citizens can bring their FAFSA support to CETIS. And currently, we are receiving a number of students from Southern California in CETIS. We have been working with a number of institutions on the States in initiatives that promote mobility, binational experiences, and the likes. Actually, next Sunday, we'll be receiving a team of students from the University of North Texas in Denton that we receive a grant from the 100,000 Strong program that we're going to be partnering with a group of our students in mechanical engineering programs and sharing some experiences in the cultural, technical exchanges, and the focus is in advanced materials. So these students from North Texas are all into advanced materials engineering, material science, with mechanical engineering CETIS, and they are going to be working eventually in April, or students are going to be going to Denton, Texas, for a similar experience to that, so they can get a grasp of what's going on in each community. Same goes for different other universities. Of course, Dr. Jaime won't let me lie about the partnership we have built. Memorandum of Understanding was already signed. Steps are in place, and you expect to see a number of IBC students moving or transferring credits to CETIS in the near term. So this is going slowly but steadily, and we hope we will see students soon. We made a partnership recently with UCSD and Skyworks. Skyworks is one of the very interesting operations in Mexicali. It's advanced manufacturing, and you don't know it right now, but I'm going to tell you. Every one of you, I bet 99.9% certainty, has with himself or herself a part that was manufactured in Mexicali by Skyworks. They are manufacturing the power amplifiers for cell phones and a number of communication devices in the world. And the likes of, internally in the company, they are very discreet about their agreements, but if you have an iPhone or a Samsung or some sort of that device, you have at least one integrated circuit that was manufactured in Mexicali by this company. They are producing in excess of 9 million integrated circuits a day. Okay? So we are partnering with UCSD in order to provide a number of opportunities. You all are aware of the initiatives in resurrecting and restoring the manufacturing capabilities and competencies in the educational arena and the workplace in the United States. Last year, President Obama signed an agreement that provided some funding in that regard. So UCSD is very interested in having their students get the feel and the opportunity to experience what advanced manufacturing is about. So along with those lines, we are partnering with these two organizations, and this summer we'll receive the first cohort of students that will be working at Skyworks and attending cities. So with that, I close. I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jose Luis, for showing us the great things that CETIS University has done in bilateral work in collaboration with other universities along the South of California and, of course, other regions in the U.S. and other parts of the world. We should take example of what they're doing and what other universities in terms of local and other parts of Mexico can do and partner with CETIS so we can have more best practices and more universities doing the same thing. Okay, so next in line would be Alex Hinojosa, Deputy Manager Director from the North American Development Bank. So it's all yours.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Alex Hinojosa, and I am the Deputy Managing Director of the North American Development Bank. We're an interesting animal. We were established in 1994 under the NAFTA agreement, and we were particularly in the side agreements related to the environment. They say that a camel is a racehorse that was designed by a committee. Well, we were designed by two Congresses, so you can imagine what came out of that. Oh, yeah. But it's worked out very, very well. It took us a long time to kind of get rolling, but it is. We are 50% funded by the United States and 50% funded by Mexico. Currently, about 65% of our loans are in the United States and about 35% are in Mexico. So you could say Mexico is kind of helping fund a lot of the projects that we're doing here. We work with the Board Environment Commission, which is our sister agency that certifies the projects. They call us the New York Pradas and bankers, and we call them the hippies. They basically go in there and look at the environment and the environmental benefits, because all that we finance, all the infrastructure that we finance, has to have an environmental benefit. We're doing God's work here. We work in a very specific region, 100 kilometers into the United States, and obviously this area falls within that, and 300 kilometers into Mexico. So we capture most of the 6 northern states of Mexico and the southern counties of the 4 U.S. States. On our board, we have the U.S. Treasury Secretary, the EPA Administrator, the Secretary of State, and pretty regularly I get together with John Kerry and we chat. No, they send staff within their organizations who are specific to the bilateral relationship with Mexico. And the same thing with the Mexican members. We have Hacienda, the Semarnat, the Mexican EPA, and the Foreign Affairs Secretariat. And then we have some border state representatives and public representatives. In fact, Senator Denise Moreno Duchesne has been recently been added to our board as the public representative. Now, what do we do? Well, first, so we lend. We're a banker. How many of you need financing for projects? Raise your hand. Okay. How many are you doing projects? How many of you are doing projects in the U.S., Mexico? Okay. Well, you will find that working binationally is not easy. I mean, especially, I have a good number of friends, because I don't know if you are familiar with the Asociación de Empresarios Mexicanos, who started in San Antonio. A lot of Mexican businessmen who came over to the United States and they're starting businesses. The running joke with them is, how do you end up with $1 million when you start a business in the United States? The answer is you have to start with 10 million. And and a lot of them have found that it's different working in other countries. Okay, the sectors that we work in lending, water and sewage, which includes potable water, wastewater, water conservation, storm drainage, And we've done a number of projects here in the area, Brawley, Heber, El Centro, and we'll have a list of some of those. Residential, industrial, and hazardous waste, landfills, recycling equipment. And you know, I'll tell you a story of how difficult it is to work sometimes within different situations. We had a landfill that was built in Mexico. It was paid for. So we're supposed to close the dump site. They paid the loan, and a few years later we found out that the landfill was not working. Why? Because of other political reasons of the pickers, los pepenadores, the collectors, and so on. So what our role often is in helping people develop the projects and moving them forward, structuring them. We don't finance that part. We can help you finance construction. We can help you finance the long term. But the advisory role that we play in moving the project forward, in getting it structured, getting it permitted, all of that is critical. Air quality. We've done a lot of street paving. As you know, if you have a city or a town that doesn't have paving, it's dry, it's dusty, lots of traffic, lots of dust. We have, in fact, in Ciudad Juarez, we just finished up a several $100 million project that's paving streets. Renewable energy is a big one, and then energy efficiency. I'm going to talk a little bit about the renewable energy because that's, this conference that's what it's about. But in fact, we did our first solar project here in Nyland 4 years ago actually. That was my first year at the NADBank, and I had come as an investment banker, and I said, let's get to it, and I know what needs to be done, and we did it. However, I had a lot of good comments to talk to the folks who are on the environmental side here in some of these other panels, some of the county people, some of the people from IID, because it's hard enough to be working in renewables, but to go a little bit overboard sometimes is in the regulations is a little bit of a problem. On the Mexican side, I can say, with straight face, that we have financed or have participated in the financing of every single major project that's been done on the northern states. Wind, as you heard earlier, outside of Oaxaca, nothing has been done. But we had financed a number of projects in the coastal region of Texas, and it made sense that Tamaulipas would be perfect for it. And once we did our first one, and we had to structure it well, the big national company that had teamed up with the developer was basically, just taking them through the rakes and just tearing them apart. And we said, this is not going to work. It's got to be equitable. Any contract that is not fair, that is not just, maybe not now, maybe not next year, but sooner or later it will bust. It's got to be fair. Working with ejidos in Mexico was a good process, but we got that straight. And once we figured out how much we were going to pay these people to use their land, I sleep well at night, and I feel good about it that we changed their lives. They're getting paid for the use of their land. They have money now to send their kids to college, to build homes, and so on. Plus, they get to keep the use of the land for farming. So all of that is critical in developing projects and getting it forward. I wish I could have more examples of biomass, methane capture, and biofuels, but we've done a couple of those. But those are harder to do. Just an example. In Mexico, the Pemex has a goal of a certain percentage of ethanol, but there aren't any producers of ethanol in the country. So it all has to be imported, therefore they don't meet their goals. But we're getting that figured out. The process is really pretty quick. It usually takes about 3 to 4 months if you got your information. It can take a couple of years if you don't. But we work in collaboration with the certification with the BEC. But again, We're a bank, and if you know how to deal with a bank, we should work out fairly well. We've got a good, we don't have sectors that we target, but it's well balanced. Water, air quality, wind energy, solar energy, others, stormwater, basic, public transportation. We've set up a thing with DINA where we've set up a fund so that they can sell buses, clean diesel buses to the communities and get a better deal, a better situation for the public transport. I'm not going to go over all of these, but we got $400 million in loans and grants in this area, and those include Brawley, Calexico, Desert Storm, Shores, El Centro, Ocotillo Wind, that was a big one, San Diego, and so on. So we've got a good number of them, and these are wind, renewable energy, solar, water, wastewater. And the same thing in Baja California. We've got a good number in Tecate, Tijuana, Playas de Rosarito, Mexicali. We're doing the first, with Energía Sierra Juárez, we're the first project, utility scale, a large wind project that's going to sell energy into the United States, and we're financing a part of that. I should say we're participating in the financing of that, because more and more what we do is once we're contacted, we will contact other banks, international banks, and say, hey, do you want to participate with us? And we find that we've got a pretty good reputation. They say, if the NAD Bank's in it, we're in it. So we're working with, big boys, Mitsubishi, Royal Bank of Scotland, Credit Agricole, international banks, and they like to participate in these big projects if they're well structured. Just a few things that we've done in the area. Ocotillo was the deal of the year for wind, Energía Sierra Juárez, Sun Peak Solar, Ramona 1 and 2, Valley Center 1 and 2, IID Community Solar, and these are all 20 megawatts, 5 megawatts, 7 megawatts. Our lending really, we can do a $2 or $3 million loan, but and we've done 110, 120 million loans. But more and more, what we do is we're bringing other banks to participate. So we're doing an average of 30 to 40 to 50 million dollars per loan. But the idea is to leverage other capital and do it right. Just to talk a little bit about how these things work. I'm not sure how many of you know what an off-taker is. An off-taker means that you have to have somebody who's buying the energy. And a PPA is the power purchase agreement, and they have to have long-term. So if we as a bank are going to finance it for 20 years, the cash flows have to be there for a long term. One of the problems that we have with the regulations under the energy reform is that the bankability of a long-term contract is not certain, and that's what we're trying to figure out. Because it used to be that a developer would team up with a buyer, and the buyer would agree to take all the energy, and it would be self-supply in Mexico, autoabastecimiento. That's no longer going to be used. Now it's going to be more of you buy or you sell into a wholesaler, but the wholesaler is going to have to compete with CFE, who can negotiate prices to sell energy. So we're trying to figure out the certainty of the cash flows. We did, like I said, the first Sun Peak Solar was 23 megawatts of power, Imperial Irrigation District. Our loan was $55 million. T-Solar, our loan was $36 million. Again, the off-taker was Imperial Irrigation District. Brawley, NRG Energy, $12.4 million. Ramona, California, Macquarie was the sponsor there. And okay, one thing I should say is I just came back 3 weeks ago from Mexico City where they had a wind summit. And I have to tell you, the same folks I'm reading up here, Pattern Energy, Macquarie, all these, Sun Edison, they were all saying the same thing. NADBank, what can we do to participate in this market? And they're already doing it, because they're out there mixing it up. Pattern Energy just announced a major joint venture with Cementos de Mexico. Let's say some of these. So stuff that we have in the pipeline, about 72 megawatts of power near Tecate. That's another one. We have basic urban infrastructure in Playa de Rosarito. We're looking at a desalination plant, and we're doing an international points of entry study to try to agilize or facilitate and expedite traffic at the points of entry. We financed one here in San Luis del Colorado that's commercial only. So just FYI, on the first week in May 14th, our board meeting will be in Tijuana, and we'll have a public meeting, a private, and a public session. So anybody who wants to come in and just talk about projects and maybe talk with our board, that's when it's going to be.
Thank you very much, Alex. I know that you're probably waiting for the questions and answers, so we'll have one more. And let's give him a round of applause. Yes, of course. Yeah, he made a great presentation. And our last presenter will be Dr. Victor Jaime, Superintendent President for the Imperial Valley College, who is going to highlight international partnerships and efforts to meet the region's labor demands through an educated workforce.
I'll try to make it quick because I know there's some questions that you may have from any of us. First of all, Imperial Valley College is the only community college of higher education in Imperial Valley. So for many of our residents, it's the only opportunity. It was for me, the only opportunity to go to higher education beyond high school. So Imperial Valley College has been there for a very long time. What we're about really is creating the future, not today, but the future, whether that be in workforce development, or engineers, or doctors, lawyers, nurses. We have a phenomenal nursing program. So we're challenged with meeting the needs of our communities in a variety of ways. You all have heard probably about our nursing program. It's a premier program. We've partnered. So the other thing is, because we are a community college, it's absolutely critical that we begin partnerships. So we've been about partnerships for a very long time. We can't do it all alone. And we can't serve our students in the best way unless we form these partnerships. So Jose Luis talked about the partnership we had with CETIS University. CETIS University, and he was modest in saying, is the first university in Mexico to receive full WASC accreditation. And that is a feat that no other university has been able to achieve so far in Mexico. So we're very, very proud of our partners. With that said, long before they received the accreditation, we saw a vision. Many of our students who want to go into engineering careers, mechanical, civil, any of those areas, oftentimes start their coursework at Imperial Valley College and then transfer out of here. Or they go to a community college closer to the university of transfer. What happens is what we call the brain drain. So they leave the Imperial Valley, they get educated, they become engineers, but they never come back. And Imperial Valley is really needing those talents to come back. So the partnership we have with CETIS, we signed an MOU well over a year ago. We've been working on the articulations. We've got the courses articulated. They'll start their first 2 years of that pathway at Imperial Valley College with some partnerships going across the border. And they'll finish with a baccalaureate degree in a career technical field of engineering and a myriad of other kinds of opportunities. So some of the challenges prior to this partnership, as I mentioned, were how do we get our students to come back? One of the big detractors of higher education is that many people feel they can't afford to send their children away to school because not only do they have to pay the perceived high cost of education, but they also have to pay for the living expenses. Yes, there is financial aid, and it covers a lot of it, but it doesn't begin to cover everything. So that does become a challenge. So if we can work with partnerships and opportunities there to be able to allow the student to stay local and get a full education leading to a baccalaureate degree, that's what it's all about. So this partnership, again, will allow this. It will also offer an opportunity for a study abroad aspect, which CETIS is very, very entrenched in. So we want to expose our students to the global realities that are out there, because it's no longer about serving our needs, it's how we compete globally, and so we have to make sure our students also are able to complete. So that talk, I talked about SETIs. The next step that we're working on, they don't even know it yet, is we're working with the Chancellor's Office to see if we could waive the tuition, out-of-state tuition for some of their students to come in there, because this is a cross-collaboration. Many, because you know, really it's without borders, and the infrastructure on both sides of the border will best serve Imperial Valley as well as the Mexicali Valley. There have been, as he mentioned, some similar other agreements that have gotten a lot of press. For example, San Francisco State University, but we were first. Just recently, I had talked to my colleagues in San Diego, and we call it the Sedica Group. Southwestern College has said, you really need to start thinking about this, because San Diego State is impacted in terms of engineering. We need to give opportunities to your students as well. So they have just recently signed an MOU, or are in the process of doing so, with SETIs in Tijuana. So we're hoping that this really, really catches on. Some of the other partnerships that Imperial Valley College has pursued is we just signed an MOU with the University of Arizona that, again, allows our students to do a career pathway, a transfer pathway to the University of Arizona in Yuma, which is only 50, it's right here. So it's a lot easier for a student to come to IBC and commute to Yuma for the upper division part of it without the additional expenses of going far away from home. We've also done a partnership with Northern Arizona University called the IBC to NAU program, and that's currently in progress. And again, this allows a career pathway to a multitude of areas. I'll talk a little bit about the renewable energy side of it, but it really is about empowering students to pursue whatever dreams that they may have, and we want to make sure that IBC is there to provide that. Some of the other things I'm going to go very quickly, because I know you want to have some time to ask some questions, is about some of the IBC accomplishments that have been accomplished over the last few years that are relevant to this particular summer. We have been working diligently on coursework in the development of sustainability, working on the development of Microsoft projects and cost analysis, alternative energy certificate program. Those are in progress. Alternative fuels certification program. Again, all these are pending approval. Power plant technician certification, Associate of Science degree in project management and sustainability, and a Bachelor of Arts degree in sustainable studies with a partnership with San Diego State in their renewable campus in Brawley. So we're working very hard about partnerships. So that's the exciting part of the whole thing. We do have one program that has completely been approved. It's a solar, photovoltaic, and thermal technical certification program. And if you can say that at one time, you should get that certificate. So that's a long one. We've also are very unique in that we need to be responsive to the industry in our area. So all of our career technical programs are required to have advisory councils as part of to make sure that the education that we're providing our students are in line with industry standards. The worst thing you can do is be out of date in terms of that and give your students, you're not serving them well if you give them out of date information and skills that is no longer used. So we want to make sure that we're up and coming. One of the ways of doing it is working with industry. We have responded to industry needs over the last several years in this area. As an example is the online regional certificate program in industrial maintenance within the power plant. That's with Cal Energy. That's scheduled to happen in the spring of 2016. A 400-hour renewable energy foundation course. Again, that's going to be offered in conjunction with San Diego State with Symbol Incorporated and Workforce Development. Again, that's pending approval. And finally, the chemistry technician certification program with Symbol Incorporated, again, pending approval. So again, we want to make sure that we're on the cutting edge in terms of meeting the needs of industry. Some of the international activities that we've been involved with or are going to be involved with is we've been involved with the boot camp for teachers in renewable energy in the summer of 2014, and we'll be doing that again in 2015 with instructors from UP, BC, SETIs, UABC, and IBC. They were all participants in those. Engineering exchange program between San Diego State and Mexicali universities, that's pending approval. UABC and Instituto Tecnológico de Mexicali is, again, all those are pending approval. Power plant simulation, that's scheduled for the summer of 2015. UABC, UPBC, and again, Instituto Tecnológico de Mexicali. Those are happening this coming summer. And finally, the educational exchange programs, providing tours, presentation, and resources. Again, it's all about getting our students, our future, really involved in knowing what is out there, what industry needs, and the best connection that we can do is to have them exposed very early on to what the industry that they are interested in going to requires, what the outlook. So career pathways is an excellent way of doing that. Internships, we're looking at internships and externships in all of our programs. So again, you want to make sure and tie not only their interests, their values, their aptitudes, but a big part of it is that interest, and that's going to be a sustainable interest. So we at IBC are there to provide for that need. They are young. Many of them are coming right out of high school. So again, we want to make sure to give them the best we can do. And we do that with partnerships like we have over here. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much to all of you. So we have a small space for questions and answers. We'll make the 5 minutes for all of you that have any questions for our panelists. So hit. Anybody has a question? Well, I have one question. For the universities, in terms of education and global trends, a while ago, like a month ago, I went to a conference from MIT, and they were speaking about the opportunity of digital education going for volume, going for a cheaper education faster. For CETIS and for Imperial, are those trends that you're looking forward to address?
Yeah, so what you're really talking about, can you hear me? Are like distance education, type of online education. And you know, we at Imperial Valley College do offer a variety of online classes. Many of them are hybrid in that they have to meet for the first time at the class to do that. The online course does provide an opportunity for many students globally, and it is an important facet. But we also have to understand that it's not a one-size-fits-all. There's a misconception out there that online education is somehow easier, but in reality, it requires a student to be extremely dedicated, committed, and disciplined in order for them to be successful. You talk to any student who has taken an online course, and they come back and they say, oh my God, it was hard. They have a lot of tools, and we have a lot of tools like Blackboard that assist students and communicate 24/7, really. You can submit your coursework. All of our coursework is submitted online anyway. So they're getting that in all of our courses. But we have to be very careful because it does meet a need, but it doesn't meet everybody's need. And I think it's important that students understand that. We don't want to set them up for failure. But it is a good opportunity for those who can't partner outside of the areas. Face-to-face for our community is very valuable. Online education definitely plays a role in that. But again, the students need to understand up front what is going to be expected. And that leads to the success. But yes, we're very involved in that.
Perfect. Jose Luis, you want to answer that?
Totally agree with Dr. Jaime. And just remembering, at CETIS, we had to do a very sudden deep dive into online education after the Easter quake of 2010. Before that time, we had online support for courses via Blackboard and the likes. But after the quake, a decision was made not to suspend academic activities. Classes will not meet at campus because it needs to be assessed for physical damage and the likes. So activities at the campus were suspended for 2 weeks. But academic activities continued right away online with the support, and the commitment of all the professors. After that time, a number of experiments have taken place, control in situations, and it's in the works, in the plan, is to have what we call the fourth CETIS campus, which will be the online campus. Not there yet. We're still working and finalizing the details, but as Dr. Jaime said, it's not a one-size-fits-all. And most of the time, it can be more demanding. And just to as a reference mention, it's my understanding that Arizona State University charges higher for online courses than physical presential courses.
Interesting. Somebody has any other question regarding education or binational best practices? Okay. So I'm also shooting a question to you, Alex. You were saying about projects, and I'm also interested in terms of vision. The bank, regarding special projects, in terms of energy and all of the areas that you go for, is there any trend or industry do you think that is going to be that is going to thrive or it's going to grow more than the others? Probably you have tendencies already seen there. Do you have you already seen any of these industries to grow more than the others?
One of the things I'll tell you is that on a personal basis, I'm watching storage. You know, I was telling my friends that I used to say that whenever my phone, whenever I can say that this thing lasts me more than 3 days, the battery, then I'll believe that they have good batteries. Right now, I mean, the thing is, used up in a day. So that is an area that really needs, and once it hits, it is going to thrive. And it's being done in different ways. Now what we're hearing about is, and there's probably, there was a storage session, but I read of one mechanism where they flow water and other acids and all that in a room as big as this hall, and that was storing energy so that it could be used like 3 or 4 hours later. I've seen where they're using banks of regular car batteries. Okay, so that's one. The Mexican market is one that has such great potential. If any of you are developing projects, I'll give you some examples. Here in the United States, we have maybe 600 landfill methane capture projects. That's where they capture the methane that's coming off the landfills, and it helps with the environment. Those are under an EPA program, and then there's probably another 500 or 600 projects that are underway for smaller towns. In Mexico, there's probably about 6, and we finance 3 of those. So the opportunity to go in there and do some of these things is tremendous. As I mentioned earlier, Pemex has a mandate for ethanol, the 85% blend, but they weren't producing any ethanol in the country. We're working with a couple of groups in the states of Nuevo León and Monterrey who grow sorghum, and they're going to be bidding on plants to do this. Right now, we've got about 8 or 9 combined cycle gas plants in Mexico, because Mexico's big into natural gas now. Combined cycle gas plants for the generation of electricity. And people have come to us to get bids or quotes or interest rate to finance that. So that's another one. Now, the United States market, I think, it changes all the time, and there will be opportunities there. I helped in the financing of the Texas wind projects 25 years ago. That's when everybody thought that the wind was, lots of wind was good. Well, now we know that the coastal wind is better. It's not as strong, but it's at the right time. So, there's just got to pay attention to things that are going on.
Perfect. Okay, thank you very much. Somebody else wants to make a question? Okay, well, actually, we're on time. We are only 5 minutes ahead of our schedule. So thank you very much to our guests of our panel. Yes, thank you. And we'll see each other at dinner. Thank you very much for everybody to stay here.